Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I have 3 DIYs for you that are all Anthropologie inspired and that are all super adorable. The original inspo versions are so expensive. I'm talking between like $60 and $700, and the version I've created for you that I'm gonna share are all super affordable, under $10 to recreate. So you're gonna get the same kind of luxury aesthetic for a really affordable price. I hope that you enjoy all of these DIYs, and without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first DIY up is an abstract art piece. It is 3D and it has this maze type design on it. I think it looks really adorable, but here's the thing. It costs $708 on the Anthropologie website. I cannot even fathom how it costs $708. Do you know how much you could buy with $708? I just don't think I would ever even spend that much money on an art piece. I could not even consider it, I think. I have thought of a way to make this piece way more affordably. In theory, this should work out really, really well, and so we'll just have to see how close it can come to this Anthropologie version. I really hope you guys like it, so let's get started with making our very own piece of luxury art. So this is a large canvas that I picked up from the dollar store, and I'm just opening that right on up. And then I also grabbed a mechanical pencil that has a good eraser on it. I pulled up the picture of the art piece so that I'd be able to mimic the design. And then to get started with actually drawing out the design, I figured out that it would be the easiest to start off by drawing all of the main vertical lines that appear throughout. And then after I have all of those added in, I'm going in with the pencil and drawing in the rest of the maze design. And this actually connects all of the vertical lines and makes this whole process super easy. So I continued along drawing out the maze, and this really just took a little bit of time and patience, trial and error, you know, drawing more lines and then erasing some of them, crossing some out. And as you can see in the end, I actually have some double lines, crossed out lines and all that stuff, and that is totally okay. Just make sure that you actually know the markings of the final design, because that will make things a lot easier for you in this next step. Now to do the actual 3D effect on this piece, I'm going to take out my puffy paint, which is meant for fabric but works perfectly well on canvas, and I got it in the color white. And I'm just going ahead and tracing that on to the canvas. Now, as you can see, with this paint, you're able to get a really steady flow of paint. So basically, I just went ahead and kept applying the paint all over the canvas, following those design markings. And this stays as 3D paint, which is perfect for this art piece. And just so you know, in case you make a little mistake there, just grab a piece of paper towel and wipe it away. And at this point, I'm on my last little section, and this is so satisfying to see the entire maze drawn in. And now we can move right along to adding paint all over the canvas. So first I'm just adding a bunch of white into this little dish, and then I'm adding a little bit of unbleached titanium for some added color. I'm mixing that all together, and then using a sponge brush, I'm adding it all over the canvas. Next up, we're gonna add a wooden frame onto this canvas because that's what the Anthropologie one has. And so I went over to Home Depot and I grabbed 4 pieces of this cut of wood. Each piece was under $1, so this is super, super affordable. I'm going to add a little bit of color to it, and I'm gonna be using coffee to do this because I'm still not at home, so I naturally don't have any other wood stain, but coffee actually worked amazingly. I added some hot water to it and just brushed it on, and it just added that perfect touch of color. I do know that the more coffee that you add to the hot water, the darker the finish that you'll get on the wood, but for me, the color was just perfect, so I just went ahead and added that onto all 4 pieces of the wood. And then once they were dry, I went ahead and attached them onto the edges of the canvas by using some hot glue. And this is the moment that we've all been waiting for, the final reveal of the art piece that cost $708. I think we did a great job. So you guys, guys, I cannot believe how this one turned out. It is just phenomenal, but more than that, I can't believe how expensive the original version was. In terms of like for like, how similar this piece is to the Anthropologie version, I'm gonna rate it 10 out of 10. I like the frame piece of it. I was really pleased that I could figure out how to frame it in an affordable way. It only costs under $5 just for the frame piece itself. So in terms of the dupe factor and how similar it is, 10 out of 10. And in terms of the price factor, under $15 Canadian, 10 out of 10. I love this piece so much. I think it turned out fantastic. So the next DIY up is going to be attempting to make these coasters that come in really pretty designs and really pretty colors from Anthropologie. The inspiration version costs $40 US. That is way too much money in Canadian dollars, and I will never spend that much money on coasters. However, in Anthropologie's defense, their version is made out of real wool. You know, just my DIY brain at work, I went down a rabbit hole of trying to figure out if I could create the real deal, i.e. make these coasters looking the exact same with wool. And the answer is yes, you can do that, but it is still pretty expensive. So I thought, I wonder if there's a better way to do this where you can get the same look, but not the same cost. Will it turn out looking decently like the Anthropologie version? And we're about to find out. Let's get started on our faux wool felted coasters.
So instead of wool, we're gonna be using these dollar store pom-poms that come in so many crazy, fun, wild colors, which I think is awesome. So I'm just going ahead and separating them into the colors that I'm gonna be using for this project specifically. And just so you know, I have chosen to use the small pom-poms because I think that would be the best fit. And in the end, I decided to make 3 coasters that were light pink, black, and white. So starting off with the first one of the coasters, we're going to be using the light pink color and some thread and a needle. And the shape we're actually going to make with this is an X or a plus sign, depending on how you look at it. And so I'm just starting off by threading on one of the pom-poms, and then once I have it on the string, I'm just kind of going back in the opposite direction to make it really secure, and it was so secure that I just lost it from my hand. And then I went ahead and I added another pom-pom on there, and then to secure that in place, I just kind of double stitched back through the top of the section, as you can see here. And then I continued adding additional pom-poms on there until I had 9 added on. From there, I just bent the string of 9 pom-poms into a square, as you can see here, and then I just sewed through all of the pom-poms so that it was secured in this square shape. And for that, I just kind of went back and forth vertically and horizontally until it was super secure. And I've repeated this whole process until I had 5 little squares that are each made up of 9 little pom-poms. So I'm just going ahead and lining up the pom-poms in that X kind of format, and I'm just using some thread and sewing them all together. And then once all of those squares were attached together, we now have one of the designs completed, but there's another one that is also super cute.
Hey you guys, so I just wanted to take a quick second to say that if you haven't subscribed to me yet on this YouTube channel, it would mean so much to me if you do subscribe, and also if you hit the bell notification button so you get notified when I upload new videos. And also, if you are at all interested in checking me out over on Instagram, I'm at DIY Dalia with an underscore at the end, and I'm trying so hard to grow over there, so that would mean so much to me as well. And that's all the time I'll take up from you, from your, viewing pleasure of DIYs. I'll let you get back to that right now.
So we've made the X coaster, and now it's time to make the O coaster. And this time we're going to be using the white pom-pom, some white thread, and a needle again, starting off by threading that one pom-pom on and then back threading it, and adding on a second one and threading it through to the first one. And we're going to be repeating this until there are 6 pom-poms added around that initial one that we've added on. It looks a little bit like a flower, as you can see here. And then we're going to go ahead and add another layer around the outside. And to secure that new one in place, we're going to actually thread the needle back through it, as well as the pom-pom layer that's beneath it. And that's basically going to make it super secure and stuck on. After that, we're going to just keep on repeating that by adding additional pom-poms next to it. And then once again, threading it back through that new pom-pom, and then back through the bottom pom-pom as well. And then going ahead and repeating that on and on, adding new ones all the way around. And making these coasters takes a little bit of time, so I highly recommend watching a TV show while you do it. But once you have all of those pom-poms in that circular shape, you're going to secure that last row by taking the thread and looping it backwards and through to the next pom-pom. And you're just going to keep doing that, which is going to create a really nice tight circle. And then after that, you guys, we figured out how to make the perfect X and the perfect O coaster, and I love how these turned out.
You guys, I love how these coasters turned out so much. I think they're so adorable. And when I compare it to the Anthropologie version in terms of style, I would rate it maybe an 8 out of 10. I think we got the design bang on. I love that we got the X shape and the O shape. I love the colors that we selected. They're not the exact same as the Anthropologie versions, but they are the ones that would match my space. The only thing is, obviously, it's not wool. You can tell they're not wool. You can't quite tell what they are, but I still think that we got the overall style and that it looks really, really nice. Now, in terms of price, I'm gonna have to rate it 10 out of 10 because the Anthropologie one was $40 and this one cost under $10 to make all of them. So overall, I love how it turned out and I think this project was definitely a win. The next DIY up is going to be a boho globe, and it's going to be super textured, super neutral, and it will go adorably on a shelf in my home. And I will just say that the original inspo version from Anthropologie comes in two different sizes. The smaller size is $36 US and the larger size is $58. And while that does seem actually relatively expensive for a random decorative globe, I will say that if you tried to make the exact same version as Anthropologie using rattan, which is what theirs is made out of, it would actually cost you quite a bit of money, probably similar to the cost that they're charging. And that's just because buying rattan in North America is quite expensive. However, I'm just gonna use the Anthropologie one as inspiration here, and I'm gonna be using a different product that's not rattan to create a similar type of aesthetic, and hopefully it'll turn out looking really, really nice in the end. So let's jump into it, you guys.
So when I was at the dollar store, I found this cute little globe in the school supplies section, and I knew I had to pick it up. And when I got it home, I figured out that I could take it apart by pulling out that top section, and so I've now separated the whole globe. And next up, I'm going to put the globe into a bowl so that it doesn't move around and grab my hot glue gun. And I've also grabbed a bunch of this wired jute twine, which I think is a really cool product. So to start off by adding it onto the globe, I'm just kind of twisting it into this circle and then gluing it right onto that top section. And then adding a little bit of hot glue bit by bit as I add more twine on, just kind of twisting it around as I go. Now, as I started twisting it on, I realized that it was going on really, really well and sticking really well with the hot glue. However, I did notice that sometimes there were little spots where the wired twine just didn't sit 100% perfectly. And what that essentially led to was little spots where you could see the blue. So after I added on that first section of twine, I decided to flip the globe over and add a bit of black acrylic paint to just make it so that no blue was going to peek through and to have a really seamless look in the end. After that black paint dried, I just went ahead and started gluing on the rest of the twine all the way around. And just so you know, I needed about 8 of those little packages of twine to cover the whole globe. Now, this is definitely another project where you're gonna want to watch a show or talk to someone or listen to some music while you're doing it, because it just takes a little bit of time. And then before you know it, you'll have all of that twine added on to the globe. Next up, I'm going to take some of this jewelry craft cording in brown, and I'm going to measure out the distance between the top and the bottom of the globe, and I'm going to cut 8 pieces in total for this next little part of the project. Next up, I'm going to attach all 8 pieces of the string to the globe using some more hot glue, and this once again stuck on beautifully to the globe. I was a little bit concerned it wasn't going to stick very well, but it did. I also just tacked it a little bit in the center of the globe section, just using a toothpick to make sure it was really, really stuck. And then after that, I just went ahead and kept gluing it on the top and bottom of the globe until all of those strings were attached. And this little jewelry cord detail, I didn't think of doing initially, but then when I looked a little bit closer at the inspo version, it had something very similar. So I thought this was a really nice touch and I really liked it in the end. Next up, we're going to give that initial globe holder a nice coat of gold spray paint so that it matches our inspo version a little bit better. And for the base, I'm actually going to be using these dollar store circle cutouts, and I'm going to be gluing them together to create a thicker base. Now at home, I actually have the perfect wooden base that I could have used, but I'm not at home, so I'm just working with what I have here, you guys. I glued all 4 of them together and it held really, really well with the hot glue. And then I'm taking some coffee and I'm just staining that wood so it's a little bit of a richer color. And then now to attach the globe holder to that wooden piece, I'm actually just adding a ton of hot glue around the inside bottom part and quickly turning it right side up and placing it onto the wooden base, and that let the hot glue just drip down and kind of harden in place. And you guys, one quick look at our inspo version, and at last, here is our DIY version.
It is now the moment of truth, you guys. I want to know which of the 3 projects was your favorite, or actually, if you want to share with me what your ranking is from most favorite to least favorite, I would be super curious to see if it matches mine. But as usual, I'm going to share with you what my ranking is, and starting off with number 1, I'm going to have to say that my absolute favorite is definitely the abstract art piece, simply because I recreated an item that was over $700 US for, you know, under $15. I just can't even believe that. It looks so much like the real thing, and I think it really, really adds a pop. I love that it's 3D and it just looks luxury. Coming in at number 2 is the Faux Wool Coaster set. I love that we got that design of the X's and the O's, and I love that the colors could be exactly matched to my space. And last but not least is gonna have to be the Boho globe. Now, I actually think it turned out really good considering I couldn't find many of the items that I actually had in my head when I wanted to recreate this project in the first place. So I couldn't find the wooden plaque that was gonna go at the bottom. I had to get these round circles and glue them together. The actual globe that I got wasn't the exact shape that I wanted. And then the twine material, I wanted something that was a little bit more structured, but I really like how it turned out, and I hope that you liked it as well. Thank you so much for watching until this point in the video, and for liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. Also, if you check me out over on Instagram, that would mean a lot to me too. I'm at DIY Dalia with an underscore at the end, and I'm really trying to grow over there as well, even though I'm really slow at growing over there. Thank you so much once again, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!